want to share with you the result of the latest study we've been running on the digital natives to try to understand how they relate to technology, and for us, from a workplace side, also trying to understand how this is going to impact the way we need to look at workplace, the way we need to design workplaces. So digital natives, born to be connected. The presentation is going to take 25 minutes. It's a high-level set of results because we haven't yet published the results. So that's a bit of an exclusive for Philippe here at WorkTech. So look out for the report coming out later this year. But let's take a first look at this result. Okay, so I'm going to try to tell you who is this generation of digital natives, okay? And I thought I'll try, to illustrate that, as much as possible. We're also going to understand what they do with technology and how they use it. We're also going to understand how, this technology is really changing, the way they live, and ultimately how this is going to impact on the way they work. And also why? Why do we need to really consider, those digital natives? So, we've seen that there's all sorts of debates around generation, and some of you may have heard me already talking about this generation Y and how they impact the workplace. So one of the WorkTech conference or even at Cornet. But the digital natives are somehow a different kind of species. Okay, they tend to look at technology in a different way to what the veterans, the silent generation, the grey generation was looking at. And I think this morning you had a fantastic presentation about technology and what technology wants and how this is transforming our life. But generations at work are starting to make a major difference. And we've been talking so much about it, but not specifically about this issue of technology. The veterans have been through a massive period of change in terms of technology. Okay, they probably were the first one to, welcome, computers, and I'm sure you remember what a struggle it probably was at the time to just be in front of a computer and the panic moment that some of this older generation, is really starting to have. On, the Generation X and baby boomers, the whole aspect about smart working smarter is really playing such a great important. Technology is an entire, piece into making, a success around smart working into the workplace. Gen X and baby boomers tend to be much more at ease at using technology. They don't have any more barriers. They embrace it very quickly. But the Gen Yers, are bringing a new dimension in terms of the way they actually, use that technology. Okay? And I'm sure you've seen it. You've seen an example of that. I remember one day I was following someone into the street, and she was telling a friend, "Oh, I'm having a mobile break. I'm shopping, but I'm taking a moment to actually, take calls and give calls. A mobile break." And I thought, what is this? But something is happening around the way they use technology, around they integrate it to their life. The really young generation, those babies, I found it personally quite frightening to see a young baby handling an iPad. But, for them it's a natural thing to do. They found their way to using, this type of, technology, very much at ease. In school, they equip with so much more than we used to have. I remember when I was graduating, having to have shift around using the first, PC. We were sharing it, 24 hours a day in order to deliver our project. And this is not such a long time ago, okay? But nowadays, those kids are playing around with fake mobile phone, and even some of them are perfectly at ease at walking around with a little phone and having a conversation. I found that quite amazing. So something is happening. So let's look at it into more detail. And technology, again, this morning, Ken Kelly gave us a presentation about all this technology. So I'm not going to re-emphasize, on that. Technology has transformed the way we work. It is transforming our life, and it will continue to transform it, into a different way. So I'm not sure what Charlie Chaplin would have done about, computer, and how he could have, showed us how much, of a change, this is taking us into our life. It could have been actually quite fascinating to see what his view was about, the integration of technology and computer into our life. But those young kids out there, okay, are real Gen Y. I've tasked a group of 3 Gen wires to illustrate what came out of this project. Okay, so Florent, Louise, and Oriane went out in Paris with a whole set of technology, and I said, look, this is what we found out of the digital native study. What does it mean to you? Can you show me through photos what does it mean to you? And they came up with something which is, I think so representative about what we were trying to express, into words. So let's look at that, and let's look what, are they doing about it, and how are they using technology into their life. So digital natives, a new species, I would say, a new way of looking at life and looking at how they endorse technology into their day-to-day, life. And could it be studying, working, shopping, chatting, it's everywhere into their life. The study itself gathered, 2,800 respondents around the world. We spoke to 8, leaders, in the field of technology on this, and we actually asked 2 digital experts to really tell us, what are those main trends and development and disruptors, which are so important, for that young generation of users. So digital native, well, basically, just a quick definition. They are the generation of users which have grown up with the technologies. They've only known that, okay? Internet is something, which they know inside out, okay? And you do, see those young kids asking you what is a fax machine, okay, and why are we using it, seriously. But you do, have that. So digital natives, 30 years or younger, compared to the digital immigrants, which are those who actually seen technology coming into their life, they were confronted at some time with technology. So they were 30 years or older than that. So everybody can find themselves, into this definition. But the key characteristic about that, and we're going to try to, to look at that. Generational characteristic of their lifestyle. I mean, seriously, those generations associate technology very differently. Future views in which technology and applications being used, we're also going to look at that. User patterns and behavior, we're going to product and particularly technology to try to understand, how different products, help them into their life. And this sense of belonging which they have with technology, which is so important, and probably one of the key characteristics of this study. So in order to do that, we followed one person. She was called Nikki. We followed her for one day to try to see how she used technology into her life, from the time she wakes up in the morning until she goes to bed in the evening. And we found out, and you're going to tell me this is probably very relevant for a large number of digital natives out there. But 25 years old, she's studying psychology in Munich, in Germany. She's a big cosmetic enthusiast, and she's a typical digital native. Okay, and throughout the day, technology is present everywhere. Okay, she would wake up in the morning and check email. I know you all do it. I do it too. Okay. Blackberries. She also check up, on the social networking and emails. She's going to take short break, to prepare a class. She doesn't even feel it's necessary for her to actually to go to university. She's very selective about who she wants to hear and why she needs to hear them, because she knows she can actually find the answer somewhere else on the internet. She doesn't need any lectures. She just go, for the essential. She also takes short break, and during a short break she do other things, like shopping online, checking out on the last, makeup, video on YouTube. So she used, the technology to actually, get some sort of an education, look for information and retrieve information. So Nikki is telling us that, she is doing a lot of things simultaneously. Okay, this issue of having different pieces of equipment around and having the ability to move from one to another one or do 2 things at the same time, she's a master, at that. The internet is becoming a place of full of information. It feels good to look for information online. Okay, the internet for them is such an important part, into maintaining the life of technology. Without it, they wouldn't have their mobile phone running, they wouldn't be able to access a social network, and we'll see how important, this is. We also know that she's always on, she's always communicating, and, she looks at user-generated infotainment. So she's going out there looking for the right information at the right time. Hence why the internet is so important, okay? So, she would communicate through Facebook, Skype, calls. She would go online to check up on lectures and listen to the ones she thinks are useful. And before she goes to sleep, she would still get some sort of education, you know, which is like, you know, for hobbies in a case, but she would be out there, you know, using the technology. So she always wants to be available online to her friends. Okay? This level of availability is something she must have 24 hours a day. Okay? And we will see that later on, that, you know, if her friends are not online, they're not friends anymore. Okay? You have to be online if you want to, you know me. And that's something which is so important with these digital natives. So, digital natives are globally connected, they're flexible, and they are collaborative. They really master, you know, the use of technology. They're excellent at Skyping, okay? They can run conference calls better than, you know, we can do, because they always connected, they're always, you know, how they, and they know how to interact, you know, with the screen and with people behind the screen, which is something that not everybody, you know, can actually do. But as a consequence of that, you know, they have developed different communication style, okay? And that's probably where, you know, as employers and as colleagues of these digital natives, we need to pay attention, okay? And that level of attention to the way they communicate, you know, is very much coming across. So they're telling us that they are the same as the generation before them, but somehow they are different. Okay? They do accept the fact that the generation, you know, before that, especially the generation of their parents, is not really good at doing technology. Okay? But somehow, you know, if you look at it, they are the same. But it's in the way they use that technology which is so different. Because at the end of the day, all generations have access to the same level of technology today. Okay, we can say, well, you know, I don't know how to use email because I don't have access to email. It's accessible to, you know, the end, it's accessible to baby boomers or veterans, or, you know, to everybody out there. If we look at some identification, strong identification, especially to brand, okay, they're very brand aware. From a computer point of view, Apple and Microsoft, you know, no surprise there. From a social side, Facebook and Google. And from a telephony side, BlackBerry and Sony as the main things. And I'm hearing actually right now that little piece of toy, oh, I'm missing a K, sorry, BlackBerry. BlackBerry, you know, is their favorite tool at the moment because it's free to use BlackBerry messengers, you know, whereby with the others you have to pay for your text. So, you know, we see that, you know, somehow it's shifting, you know, at the moment. But mainly, this is what they're telling us. They are Apple. They do Facebook, okay? Apple is something they strongly identify with. You know, the technology that Apple is bringing to them, you know, is at the right level. It's really answering all their needs. And they do Facebook. Facebook, for the identification to the social networking, is very, very strong, okay? And we see that without that social networking, you know, they find it very difficult to survive. So let's look at some of the issues. And let's look, you know, about what they demand. They definitely demand connection 24/7, whenever and wherever. No surprise then, we knew that. Okay, with the confirmation that, you know, that always-on lifestyle is very much, you know, what is a key characteristic of the digital natives. They see, you know, a mobile lifestyle driven by an on-the-flyness mentality. So the ability to carry technology around, having no issues with connection, is very important to them. And something very important, flexibility and spontaneity, okay? Having the ability to just organize a meeting at the last minute, you know, using Facebook, is something, again, very characteristic to this generation. So technology became, in what they explain to us, and again, I'm reporting on what they tell us, a new extremity. Something they have there, nearly transparent, embedded into their body. And that's very much how they see it. Unfortunately, you know, they have to carry it around, okay? Hence why, you know, those young Gen Yers, you know, they created that photo of a transparent phone, you know, on their hand. Because it's there, you know, it's everywhere. They can't live without it. And they feel that, you know, they fully adapted, you know, to it. And it's a very natural behavior to use technology. They don't have any more barriers about the fact that it may be a problem for their health. Absolutely not. It's natural, okay? They also see that, of course, the internet, again, is this key technology supporting their lifestyle. And I dread to think about the day where, you know, somehow, someday it will happen, you know, the internet is going to fail, you know. What a dramatic day. This could be, I don't know if you heard, but over the last 2 days, BlackBerry has had a lot of issues to transfer email in Europe, okay? And I've seen it, you know, because my email are not going out and it's very frustrating. But, you know, these type of things, you know, can really make their day what we call a bad day. But the internet, as they see it, is the backbone, firmly connected, you know, the various aspects and sphere of their life, okay? So it is that glue which enable them to access the social network, you know, organizing meetings, shopping, and so on, okay? So very much important, you know, for them. And if we look specifically at, you know, some statistics and internet as a social, you know, connection for the US, as you see, they're using the internet mainly for social friends and families here in the US. You know, we have very similar ways of looking at it, 29%. The second coming into place is, you know, the use of, for entertainment and diversion. And third, you know, comes commerce, shopping, and consumption, okay? But social networking is very much, you know, out there, and the primary use of the internet, you know, is for this. So, when they were asked to live without technologies, a disaster is striking. It feels like a punishment. That's what they're telling us. And it's like being on a diet, okay? It's like a digital diet, okay? They can't live without it. It's frustrating. 86% of American respondents claim they are addicted to the latest technology, okay? And that's, you know, clearly living without it, you know, is, as I said earlier, is taking away a part of their body. You know, that new extremity, you know, you know, the end of the end. So that digital diet, you know, they can explain it. They feel that, you know, they can't plan anymore their day. You know, they really struggle. Suddenly there is I must plan my day and I don't have access, you know, to this technology or the internet. Most digital natives express a sense of helplessness and felt isolated from friends when the technology, you know, wasn't around. They miss the outside world of information and continuous flow and input of information. Okay, so reaching out to information. They're extremely good at that. Okay, and they know the internet as the answer. Okay, they really don't need a rest anymore to learn. They go out there. Short, boring waiting periods could not be bridged with random information input. Okay, it has to be continuous for them to feel, you know, that, you know, that day was a continuous day, but it wasn't disturbing, you know, their life. So, social technologies such as social networking tools induce a digital divide. Okay, that digital divide is something that we need to watch, and that digital divide happened between those who have technology and those who don't have it. Okay, they're telling us that if you're not on Facebook, if you can't get to know me on Facebook, you know, you're not going to be my friend, forget it. You know, you're not going to be invited to parties, you're not going to be invited to all sorts of things which happen simultaneously at the same time, instantaneous, okay? And that digital divide is so important. Could be a new thing to watch, you know, because let's face it, you know, in our workplaces, I'm not sure we can allow our people to be on Facebook, you know, 8, 9 hours a day and organizing their day. You know, we know, you know, that this is already, you know, quite difficult. So, digital natives use the internet as an excellent and exclusive opportunity to meet like-minded people. Okay? So, out there, reaching out for people to collaborate with, they will be using the social networking, they will be using the internet to actually get, you know, that level of connection they're looking for, and the right level of connection, because it's not only anybody. They are able to actually select individuals. You know, I've heard some Gen Yers telling, oh, I'm not friends with this one anymore because he's got a funny photo, you know, thing. And I don't agree with it, you know. That photo happened to be one from a national party, you know, an extreme party. He said, I don't want to be associated with this friend anymore. So I am deleting him, you know, from my Facebook. And that's a kid who is 13 years old. Okay? And I thought, first of all, he realized that, you know, there are political issues which need to be dealt with somehow at a personal level, and he's taking, you know, positive action to actually remove that connection, not to disturb his life, not to be associated with it. I mean, that's quite phenomenal, okay, when you think about it. So, consequences for the workplace, and what does it mean for us? And those are the 5 things that I see in 2 slides. First one, there is a mix between private and public life. And somehow, the fact that we have no boundaries between their private and their life, at work, could be an issue, which need to be watched. So it's an issue which may need to be addressed into the design of the workplace itself, the level of technology we provide them, but also from a human resources point of view. How are we going to deal with the fact they need to be connected all the time? Okay? If everybody gets connected all the time, it could have a serious issue, for IT and HR. Cloud dependence. They're telling us that really the reliance on the internet at the back of it is like they need all this cloud. They're addicted to the internet. To look for information, to store information, to share information, it's out there. And that cloud dependency, in the long term, if we deny it, could be a problem. Okay? They use Dropbox, Moodles, Google Doc, Open Atrium, and they deny wikis and webtops. They hate them. I think that's what they're telling us. Third one, zoom in and zoom out mode. I mean, their way of multitasking, could be an issue. They're telling us they multitask with 3 screens in front of them. Okay, so they may have a laptop, a computer, and then, a tablet. And on top of it, probably their smartphone. Okay, but 3 screen is the optimum, solution, for them. They also have very intense period of work in front of the computer. Okay, so on top of multitasking and having access to wide number of information, they also have this need to really concentrate. So how do we address that into the workplace? There's design issues to take into account, but there's also that issue about how do you get them to zoom in into a task they have to deliver and zoom out and maybe find out those touchdown space and shared spaces which they're really looking for to entertain their social network in a way. Point number 4, there are some leading edge technologies and applications out there, and they have a very strong reliance on them. Okay, so we have been talking recently about how important it was, for us, for employers, to actually allow people to bring in their own piece of technology into the office. Okay, well, with those digital natives, I think it's a must. Somehow this needs to be allowed, because let's face it, who in this room is able to provide a PC, a laptop, a tablet, and a smartphone, plus full connection at any time during the day into their office? Who can do that in this room? You can? Good. We will be talking to you, outsider. But here you go. The ability to provide that high level of technology is not something we can do. And with that, of course, is the whole issue of synchronization. And the fact that they don't only want to get access to things, they also want a fast access to it. It has to be rapid, okay? So the rapidity of synchronization is key to their efficiency. And they actually see a complete fusion of their technologies. Now, that's another big issue, because Apple is going to connect properly, with the Windows application and the rest. Remember, we are Apple, we do Facebook. That's what they're telling us. So a number of issues are starting to, to come across. And if I just summarize it, into 6 points, it's about speed, it's about efficiency, it's about transparency, it's about integration, easiness of use, and that simplicity into technology, precision, and I'm repeating here, simplicity. Okay? Those are, for me, in a nutshell, the issues which really we need to consider when we look at those digital natives and how they invade our workplace. So watch out for them, make sure that you listen to them and make sure that you reach out, to them. And technology is definitely, that glue, which will enable you to engage them, into being more efficient, more performance, at work.